Alright guys, well, I've been riding this bike for about 6 months, so I figure it's about time for the 6-month review. It's been pretty good so far. I don't have any major complaints, but I'm gonna go over every part of this bike in as much detail as I possibly can. Try and give you guys a better idea of what I'm using this bike for, how it performs and what I'm using it for, and everything else in between. And to start that off, I'd like to talk about the fuel consumption on this motorcycle. This thing has a massive gas tank. 7.9 usable fuel capacity with a 1.1 reserve is giving me 9 entire gallons of fuel. And I honestly can't remember the last time I filled this bike because I've been using it every single day. It's kind of amazing. It's a keyless gas cap, which is kind of cool. I don't have to take anything off of my keyring to use it. So it's kind of awesome. I barely fill this thing with gas ever. Now I do put the best fuel in this bike. I'm pretty sure it asks for it. I so rarely fill this motorcycle up with gasoline that, you know, it's a large bill, you know, more than I've ever paid on any other bike in my life, and I probably put it closer to like owning a car, because I'm getting almost like 7-8 gallons. But I gotta be honest, the consumption on this bike is just phenomenal. I go for weeks without filling up. I might even say a month, depending on the riding. Alright, what are we at? 5? No, I think we do more than that. Way to fill this tank up properly would be to put it on its center stand. I'm not gonna go crazy. Bet you I got at least 6. Yep, there we go. $22. When was the last time you put $22 of fuel in your motorcycle? I bet never. Now I will say this. This bike, you know, I'm not gonna lie, it is top heavy. It is a little top heavy, but you don't really have to worry. You feel a huge difference when you're low on fuel and then you fill it up all the way and you get on the bike. If you haven't filled the gas up in weeks and you've got used to riding at like a quarter tank, you know, or half or less, the bike reacts and feels really different when you fill it up with fuel. And if you're not ready for it and you pick up your side stand and you get ready to go at low speed maneuvers, if you're not ready and you didn't remember, you just added like 6 gallons of fuel, which is what, a gallon weighs about 10 pounds or so. So you added about 60 pounds to the top of the bike, and then you get on and all of a sudden you're expecting it to feel the same when it doesn't. So that's one thing. The bike is top heavy, and adding a lot of fuel to the bike in one shot and riding away, you just have to be prepared for that change in weight. Other than that, everything else reacts really well. The braking on this motorcycle is very, very good. The ABS system kicks in a lot, which means because of the height of the motorcycle, the weight distribution and the speed of that distribution from the rider and the bike to the forward suspension when I'm pressing the brake levers it's a lot faster and more violent than bikes that are of a lower class. So the ABS tends to kick in a little bit more often on this bike than others, and that's okay. I've gotten used to being a little bit easier on the brakes, so that doesn't happen as often as when I first got it. But the braking is really good. It's actually, I'm sure it's more than ABS, and the computers are controlling some sort of the braking mechanism as well. But I have no complaints about the braking at all, especially off-road. It's excellent. Another thing I like is this electronic shift assist. Like if I'm cruising along, I want to go to third gear, I don't need to use the clutch if I don't want to. And that goes for shifting down as well. Even though that was a little weird because I went from third to neutral in one shot. So there's a computer obviously on this motorcycle, and it's controlling a lot of things. One of those things is an electronic shift assist, and in a fraction of a second the computer can detect that I pulled the shifter up and will disengage the clutch for me. So what does that mean? In terms of accelerating like a bat out of hell, if I want to, I can hold the throttle fully open and bang through all the gears without letting off the throttle or pulling in a clutch lever. So basically, I'm going to out-accelerate most people who have to shift the traditional way. Now, 98% of the time, I'm still shifting like normal, pulling in my clutch, upshifting, releasing my clutch a little bit quickly and rolling on the throttle to where I was or higher. But if you don't want to, like check this out, no clutch, third gear, fourth gear, and back down again, third gear, second gear, first gear. Computer is doing all the work and I'm not damaging my engine while doing that. It's kind of cool. Oops, I'm gonna actually make a right. It's kind of cool technology to have there. I wasn't used to it in the beginning because my brain is telling me you're going to damage the transmission, you are going to damage the engine. Do not shift gears without your clutch lever. It's something you just don't do until you try it out on a technologically advanced bike like this BMW is, and you realize that you're actually allowed to do that. The computers are actually in control of this bike more than anything, and more than me. I mean, this computer on this bike is just doing so many things at one time. It's unreal. At first I didn't like so many computers and stuff like that, but I get it. Traction control is very important. This is the first motorcycle that I've ever had that included traction control, and I've got to say it's probably saved my butt more times than I'm willing to admit at this moment in time. You know, so because it's a boxer and it's a two-banger, it does vibrate. You know, more than my Goldwing, more than most of my bikes actually. I've kind of gotten used to it, and in the beginning my hands were getting a bit numb after prolonged rides, but I changed my posture and my grip to accommodate it so it was not numbing my hands so much. I have these things called the grip puppies at home. I didn't install them yet, but they're supposed to help with that. So that's one of my complaints, the vibration at high speeds. And when I'm talking about high speeds, I'm feeling a lot at like 70. And I've taken this bike over 100 miles an hour and it was shaking, like, you know, shaking a lot. But to be fair, this bike is a jack of all trades, master of none. It's gonna be able to do everything for you, right? Get through everything. There's nothing that's gonna stop this motorcycle in the world. It's always kind of freaked me out because the airport's right over to my left and planes land and fly really close. But like I was saying, the bike's a master of none, right? It's a jack of all trades, master of none. So you have to accept certain things. It's going to be able to get anywhere. It's pretty damn comfortable. It's smooth. It is smooth. Like right now I'm chilling. It's not shaking at all. This bike is balanced amazingly. I could ride this thing with no handlebars for days. It's just a very well-rounded, well-balanced motorcycle. Can't really complain about too many things. You know, it's tall, it's intimidating. I like that too. Because this motorcycle is so tall sitting down, it's almost at shoulder height to some people. Which is beneficial when you're leaving it on the street, because not everyone's just gonna walk up and throw their leg over this thing and have a seat for a Instagram photo, like you might catch them on your lower cruisers or such. They're gonna look at this bike and say, this is not something I want to get on right now. The tires are a little loud at high speed. These are like stock tires, I think. Not really sure. One of my favorite things about this motorcycle is the suspension. When I first bought this motorcycle and I was riding on my way home, I was laughing in my helmet because I didn't feel anything that I felt on my previous bikes. Every single little hiccup and bump I would feel on my Goldwing. Every single hiccup and bump I'd feel on my other bikes. And when I got this, I was almost looking for ruts and holes in the ground just to hit them, just to see what this bike could actually do. And then I actually found out what it could do when I went off-road. The suspension has over 8 inches of travel. I think it's 8.5, which is double of what standard motorcycles have. So this thing is just eating everything that New York City roads throw at it. And I actually can't wait for the early months of next year when the winter has completely devastated these roads and everyone's telling me, oh, be careful, you know, be careful on those roads out there. And I'm just gonna smile, know that my traction control and everything else is on it. You know, that guy knows what's up. You know, it's just a really, really powerful bike. It's capable of a lot. It has a lot of low-end power. The torque on the low end is amazing. I can pick up this front end like I pick up a tissue out of a tissue box. I don't do it intentionally anymore because I know this motorcycle can throw itself from me very easily if I'm not paying attention. But you know, I'm just trying to respect the bike. I haven't had it a year yet. I feel like after a year of riding a motorcycle, and this is just my opinion, I feel like after a year of riding a bike, you truly start to know it in and out, all its ends and its quirks. Kind of like in a relationship, you know, when you're dating someone, first few months, they kind of like, they might have this facade about them. They're acting a little weird because they're around somebody new. And then eventually all that stuff just goes away and they either show their true colors or they show them right from the beginning. This bike is one of those bikes that shows its true colors right from the beginning. Yeah, it's a windy day, sorry about that. I'm just gonna pull over here for a second. This bike has been performing for me very admirably. It did have one tip over while parked on its center stand. The accident was very, very expensive because this bar was bent, which was $80. These bars that move the windshield up and down had to be changed. I think it was $100 and something, but the most expensive part, this, what they call a head unit, had to be replaced. And that was $384. They put a new one in, so it's, you know, it's like new. The windshield got scratched here. I don't care really, because I've hit it with branches and stuff going off-road, but this is $200 to replace from BMW, so I don't think I'm going to be doing that anytime soon. The way the spokes are done, it's that beautiful German engineering. the motorcycle can be spoked and provide the dampening effect of spoked rims. However, they're maintaining the modern standard of tubeless tires, which is amazing because they're pluggable, very easily pluggable. As you know, I had to plug one of my tires, and it's awesome engineering, which other companies have copied this. Now that I see, looking at other adventure touring bikes, and I see that this design is being copied. This is very smart. I got, you know, my trusty Brembo brakes, and my beautiful telelever suspension in here, which is giving me that awesome dampening effect. This motorcycle also has a steering dampener built in right into the back of the forks here, which helps a lot of the wobbling effect. You see this on high-end sport bikes, mounted right by the handlebars on the neck, right above the neck. This is obviously one of the premium models. It came with all the lights and the bars and everything. I've added the Lone Rider windshield or headlight guard here. It's pretty cool because it has an amber effect for the half the light. It gives it kind of a different look. Previous owner didn't really do anything to this bike, so there's not many upgrades to speak of. You have your dynamic electronically suspension adjustment here, which is it's a marvel. It's kind of crazy when I sit on the bike and I have my wife sit on the bike and I go to change the suspension options in the motorcycle, and I can actually feel the bike lifting itself electronically. My Goldwing had the same option. However, I never really felt the bike moving up and down as I changed the values. So I'm not sure if it wasn't working or it just was kind of more of a gimmick on the Goldwing, but on this motorcycle it is not a gimmick. The stock exhaust in this bike is actually pretty throaty at high RPMs. Anything over like 3 or 4, this thing's actually barking pretty well. So I haven't considered upgrading the exhaust yet, even though that would be an option in the future. That squirrel's got something in his mouth, and it is not a nut. You know, one of the other awesome things about this motorcycle is its turning radius. This bike never ceases to amaze me, and what I mean by that is, even from here, I'm going to show you how exceptionally well this motorcycle turns in tight spaces and can actually handle about anything. If I was on a normal bike right about now, don't think I'd be too confident that I could make a U-turn right now without running into something. I'm feeling like I would have to back up or whatever. But right now I'm going to basically creep up. Look at that. Even that's pretty close for any other motorcycle, right? I'm going to put my right leg up. I'm going to fully lock. Look over my shoulder, make sure no idiots are coming, which they are. And perform one of the tightest U-turns and go right into some crazy shit right here. Now, what bike do you know that can do that easily? You tell me what bike. You tell me, bro. Just tell me. Tight U-turn from a stop, then over some off-road stuff. Come on, bro. Come on, bro. This is the best motorcycle for urban environment, especially an unpredictable one like New York City, where you don't know, based on what street you turn on, what you're going to encounter. You might encounter gravel, cobblestone, juice from a garbage truck. The traction control on the motorcycle is going to take over if your rear tire slips out for any reason. You know, now when you stop your bike and you put your foot down on something slippery, that's your own fault. But if your rear tire happens to go over something slippery and you didn't see it because you're paying attention to other things, it's nice to know that the computer is there and it's got your back. Your rear tire slips out because of some oil or some some crazy mixture on the road. the bike isn't going to slip out, drop on you, destroying your confidence for a long, long time, because you're not going to want to take turns after that for quite some time, to be honest with you. So it's nice to know that the computer has your back in that sense.